from the perspective of the global south. Now from Tokyo, let us come to Bali, and we have Mr. Natarajan from the private sector, and could you please share your sides from the private sector point of view, how we can make this digital revolution meaningful?
Thank you. Basically, I think first thing I need to mention is that, we are here among speakers and panelists who are all from research institutions, think tanks, and academic background. I'm just going to be the odd man out, talking about things as I see in the industry, what's happening. And of course, we have our own challenges. Right? So you should probably see this as the perspective of someone who is a keen observer of technology and how it is used in different environments and what are the challenges associated with that. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So today I'm only going to talk about 4 things, which is the distance learning and LMS, e-commerce and payment platform, which almost every speaker has referred to, and IoT or Internet of Things, and another emerging technology called the robotic process automation. All of this will greatly benefit from one enabling technology, which is the 5G. Right. So let's talk about first the distance learning and LMS. Next slide, please. See, what I see as far as the distance learning and LMS is concerned, there's a frenzy referred by so many universities and some software houses. Everybody wants to be in this game of LMS, especially thanks to COVID, and which made it difficult for people to attend classroom. But in a way, it is counterproductive because there is confusion in the market, confusion among students, confusion among teachers, as to what is the role of LMS in an institution. Right. So essentially, if you look at LMS, or if you look at e-learning, there are 3 major components to it. First is the content, the course to be created. And actually, one thing that is not happening is global cooperation in that. Certain things like mathematics or engineering, applied mechanics, medicine, where global concepts are being taught, there is a lot of opportunity for the content to be world-class and created by a pool of people, and which can at most be translated into maybe many different languages, but there will be a lot of efficiency in doing that. But it's not happening. Actually, in fact, even within Indonesia, or for that matter, India, each university is trying to create its own e-learning, which is in a way positive because there are a lot of new ideas coming up. Everybody has a different idea. But if it can all be pulled together, we'd probably be more efficient in creating an e-learning environment. The second is LMS, which is somewhat more easy in the sense it is just organizing the course material in a way someone can follow the classes in an organized manner, go through interim tests at the end of each chapter, and make sure he or she has learned the first chapter before going to the second chapter, and so on. Right? And this can again be standardized. Except maybe where some universities have a completely different approach to learning, like maybe if they have too many case study type of teaching, then maybe they need to have a different kind of LMS compared to people who believe in traditional classroom teaching, but enabling the student to learn at one's own pace through LMS. So there are 2 approaches to this. But again, there is an opportunity for efficiency in this, which I believe is being missed. Last but not least, LMS and e-learning is not going to be effective till there are credible examination systems. One of the major challenges is the examination systems, if they are online, to make sure that the integrity of the student is maintained, is a big challenge. The technologies are available today. There is proctoring and proctoring through artificial intelligence, and these methods are available today. but they're not being effectively used. Of course, one reason could be that the available telecommunication technology is not fast enough to make this realistic for remote areas. Earlier in the day, I think Dr. Anbumuri talked about how 40% of the people don't have adequate bandwidth for telecommunication. Right. But I think that is certainly a factor. But even with the available technology, we can do some online examinations with integrity. We have an opportunity to do that, and we should work on it. But the way we are doing it, I believe ultimately there will only be 2 or 3 winners whose technology, which will enable universities to standardize. Those 3 winners may be other universities, or it may also be software houses which produce some LMS. But Indonesia has taken some lead in that. In fact, there is an organization set up called ICE, which is trying to standardize on examination systems. But this has not happened in India. India is still very fragmented as far as the examination systems are concerned, and that's one of the reasons it has not been successful there. But I believe it's a matter of time. They'll come through. It's a little bit like, what can I say, the power supply systems for mobile phones. It takes 30, 40 years for all the vendors to get together and standardize on it. So similarly, the universities will ultimately come to some standardized way of delivering education and also conducting examinations. But we are going to go through problems in doing this. I'm assuming that the rapid spread of 5G will make this much more acceptable to the community as a whole. When I say community, it's not just the people, the students or students' parents, but it's also the universities, the government examination systems, the teachers. All of them have to embrace this e-learning concepts, which consists of content, delivery mechanism like LMS, and an examination system. Right. Next, please. E-commerce and payment platforms. We have spoken enough about it today. So I think, in my opinion, this is one classic area where globalization is necessary. Each country has its own system of what should be the payment platform, what should be e-commerce. There is enough nationalistic feeling which say that, oh, where is the tax going to happen? If Amazon is going to deliver to a customer in Indonesia, who pays the customs duty? Is this being avoided? Is there a value-added tax being evaded? How are we going to do this? Each country has its own self-interest, and that is creating a problem in creating a global platform. Again, this is causing inefficiency, and it reduces the ability to do in-country as well as cross-border e-commerce. What we need is government to play a greater role in this area. They have to set up some regulatory policies. And again, this has to be global. It cannot be each country doing its own policies. Then it'll never solve this problem of acceptance of e-commerce, which is global or cross-border. The other thing that is happening is that everybody has talked about how the volumes are growing. But when volumes grow, costs should go down. But the financial institutions' charges for e-commerce transactions and the courier companies' charges for delivery have not gone down. So this is again something where the government has to step in and bring some order into the system. Otherwise, there are some people who are benefiting extraordinarily from this, and this will, in the long run, create a detrimental impact on the acceptance of the technology. Now, last but not least, there is a potential to increase the digital divide and widen the disparity between digitally literate and others. I particularly have in mind a concern like, there are some economies, including India, where maybe more than 20% of the people are not literate. Forget digitally literate. They're not literate. But they are all rural people who have sent their children to work in big cities like Bombay and Delhi. And when they send money back to them, can they send it through a payment platform? If they send, does the parent in the village know how to use it, how to spend it, what is the value of it? What is likely to happen? This will give rise to some, this may give rise to some white collar crimes. And again, in the longer term, some kind of a lack of confidence in the system. I think if we need to avoid that, again, the government has to play a role in regulating the payment platforms. I see one country seems to be taking a lead in this, which is Singapore. I see every month statistics being published about how many B2C fraudulent deals have taken place and what is the impact in terms of dollars and how many people have been affected. But I don't see any other country worrying about it. I have not seen any such statistics in India or Indonesia or Malaysia or any countries. But I think we need an awareness, and the awareness has to be built by the government about how this can be misused and how people should protect themselves against such misuse. Right. Next slide, please. Now, this is, for those who are aware of what it is, I mean, the benefits are well known. And it is going to grow more and more in importance as 5G becomes widely available. Okay. But what is interesting for me is that in Indonesia, even 2 years ago, small poultry farmers in Bogor started thinking of using IoT to improve their productivity, where a nuclear family of 2 or 3 people can run an entire poultry farm without having to have a number of employees by using IoT. When to clean the poultry pen, how much food to be delivered to each area in a pen. All those things can be controlled by the system. Knowledgeable people can very easily use IoT to bring efficiency to both small businesses and large businesses. What is exciting for me is to see that the small businesses are embracing this idea. And I think we should find a way to make this more organized, and government has to give encouragement to that. Second, the largest benefit of IoT is for actually public utilities, both for transport and for electricity. But I haven't seen any initiative in any of the major countries in using this, about distribution of power or elimination of traffic constraints. The planning and coordination and all that is not happening. Right. I'm hoping that as 5G penetration increases, there will be even more innovative applications coming, not just improving productivity in industries or in public utilities. It can be used in many other areas. 5G is a technology that has got no limit for innovation because there is no latency in transmission of data. It is going to make a lot of ability to apply 5G to create new applications. Next, please. Last one, robotic process automation. It's got nothing to do with robots. It is basically a way by which you can say many of your business process outsourcing tasks can be done by a system. It's just a digital process, an application. An example would be, let's say somebody makes an application for an insurance policy. All the work that has to be done with it, who are all the people to be shared, everything, instead of having some human being sending emails and forwarding notes and filing, everything will be done by the system. It knows through AI exactly what to do when an application comes. Right? Similarly, when somebody makes a payment, who all need to be notified? And all that done not by a business process outsourcing agency or by your own staff, but done by an AI-based system. Right. Now, India may see this as a double-edged sword because it can threaten all the BPO business today. And quite a lot of India's export is through BPO services. And that may become threatened by the spread of robotic process automation. But on the other hand, I think India needs it because as they lose revenue from BPO, they will need to use this, developing these applications in order to make up for the loss of revenue. Right. So these are the basic ideas I wanted to share with you. And none of them are strategic concepts or it is more like what I see in the field as applications. and how people are embracing it in different countries. Thank you.
Mr. Natarajan, and bringing this other side of the coin of digitalization, and it is not a rosy story. And as we heard from him, some of the technologies that work in one country cannot work in other country, and we have seen it, India and Indonesia. And we still have the trust problem between the business and the community, the customers, and it works in Singapore, and we don't have that kind of infrastructure in other countries. He also brought about the unintended consequences of digitalization. It may contribute more inequality if it was not addressed. And these are the challenges. Not only the potentials, we do have the challenges in making the transformation. And he also mentioned there is a need for the public-private partnership, and where the public and the regulatory bodies need to work together to create a new environment, and so that is these new systems flourish. And now it is